What's wonderful about being 50 is you can learn new things. And before it was, I have to be really good at it. And now it's like, just do it. It's just the act of doing it. And that's such a freeing feeling.
All right, I'm coming to you from my kitchen, where I spend a lot of time because I love to cook. I'm a pretty good cook. Which can be a plus and a minus, to be sure. But one of the greatest threats to my success in facing 50 and my health is this little baby right here, the refrigerator. Now, in the last month or so, she's had a good cleaning, and I've taken out a lot of the things that I get tempted by, a lot of the sugars, a lot of the sweets, a lot of the carbs. So the refrigerator area of my kitchen has become very important to me.
To make sure his personal nutrition plan could go the distance, Jim Warren went to the Wellness Center at DeKalb Medical Center to meet with registered dietitian Alice Schuler. So what's the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutrition counselor?
We have to be registered in the United States as well as in the state of Georgia. And we have to keep our hours up, credits, we have to have continual education. For someone to be a nutrition counselor, they don't need that, so they can read a book and say they're a nutrition counselor.
Schuler says it's important to know your family history when developing a long-term nutrition plan.
If your family had, for instance, diabetes, then you would want to prevent the risk as much as possible. Or you don't have diabetes, you don't have high blood pressure, and your family doesn't either. And you've taken good care of yourself, so it's not like you're coming to me and asking, now what can I do to lose weight? It's more or less, what am I going to do as I get older? As we think after we grow, that we don't need protein as much or calcium as much, and actually our needs do increase just a slight little bit.
Another essential tool in the war against weight gain is making sure you control your portion size.
The way we learned to eat growing up, we tend to not pay attention to our internal cues of when we're really satisfied. So sometimes people will have a head hunger, that's what I call it, instead of really a stomach physiological hunger. And so therefore a lot of times people will say, I'm really hungry, and they've got used to eating lots of food. So this was to demonstrate what actually one portion of, like for instance pasta. And I still get people that will say that I can't have carbohydrates because they make me fat. And actually the carbohydrates don't make you fat, it's the quantity, and we don't have to avoid the whole food group. In fact, it's not really that healthy to do that.
Schuler says many times people think they're hungry when they're actually thirsty.
It's just one of those internal cues that we have forgotten and we've not paid attention to. We get such in a rush in our life. We look at the clock and think it's time to eat, or somebody else is eating, and what I found is interesting that people will unintentionally eat more than they really plan. If you're eating in a group and somebody else is eating more, we might tend to eat the same amount, even though we might be a shorter person or an older person. We're not even conscious of it.
Alice Schuler put together a lifestyle change contract for Jim Warren, where he agreed to several action steps to accomplish his long-term nutrition goals.
As we get older, we need to be thinking more of nutrient dense, more nutrition for the calories. On your plate, you want to have at least half of the plate vegetables and fruit. And a lot of times when you eat nutrient dense with your meal, you don't have the cravings for other foods in between. And you can trade off. If you want something that you know is not as nutrient dense, then exercise more that day. You don't really have to exercise in a gym necessarily, just be more mobile. Your body mass index is 24, and that's within the healthy weight range. But you want to look at also the waist measurement. So you want to keep your waist for men less than 40.
Oh my God, yes.
I devised some portion lists to kind of give people an idea. This one meal plan is without milk, but just in case, maybe you're one of those that you had antibiotics, or maybe this is short term that you can have milk.
Maybe short term. I hope so. Maybe it's just the ice cream I'm beginning to become intolerant of.
It's interesting though, when you talk about ice cream, sometimes people will think that frozen yogurt's better, and a lot of times the frozen yogurt can have more sugar in it.
Absolutely.
It's not always so. That's not
Again, it's a portion.
Exactly. And a lot of times when they cut down the fat, they've increased the carbohydrate, and you might have a higher calorie per product. I recommend is not having, whenever you have a meal or a snack, not to have just one food group, to have combination of foods, because you get a benefit of several things. One is nutrition, obviously, because vitamin C will increase the iron that's in enriched bread, will increase the absorption better of it.
So orange juice and toast in the morning is a good combination.
Yeah, right. The other thing too is that you're able to have different flavors, so that kind of helps people feel fuller, and you have different textures. A lot of times people want to know, how much can I eat and maintain, because the concern is when I introduce more vegetables and legumes and beans and rice, they get worried, oh, am I going to gain weight? Not realizing that what they were eating was higher in calories. I calculated that to maintain your weight at your present weight would be 2,300 to 2,600.
Okay.
And I calculated your protein needs at 77.
At the end of the day, Alice Schuler says lifestyle change is all about balance.
You ease into it and it becomes part of your life, so it doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself, white-knuckling it.
Schuler says medical advances are making it possible to tailor nutrition plans for individuals based on their genetic history that will hopefully prevent chronic illnesses such as diabetes and hypertension. We'll make sure to check in with Jim Warren to see how he's doing with his own nutrition action plan. Next on Jim Warren Facing 50. You are what you think. Jim talks with life coach Patrice Dickey on how to get the life he loves and afford it.
I mean, I think if